Welcome back to Yang Daily. First off, a quick reminder that with the Yang Gang's over 200,000 active members, we could save over 600,000 hours per day for phone banking if they were all listeners. And every day counts. This is why I started the podcast, but I need your help spreading it. The faster, the better. Not a lot of news today, except for the debate analysis, but there's plenty of that. So let's get to it then. Last night was the debate, of course. As usual, Yang got less than half the speaking time of others on stage as they droned on about their fathers and grandfathers and themselves and so on, drumming up emotion without saying anything of substance about what they would do in office, for the most part. Yang spoke for 8 minutes, while Bernie had 20, Biden 19 and a half, Pete 18 and a half, Klobuchar 16 and a half, Warren 16, and Steyer 14. The LA Times wrote an article on this titled, "Andrew Yang Seems Invisible to the Mainstream Media, Just Like Most Asian Americans." Unfortunately, it's behind a paywall, so I can't dig into it, but it matched well with the reports of Yang's mic being turned off throughout much of the debate, which is borne out by multiple times that he spoke and could only be heard through Pete's mic, including where he seemed to make a joke about it, saying, "It's the Russians." Frankly, I don't have Yang's cool. I don't find it funny at all that citizen politicians are being actively suppressed in every turn by our democratic establishment, and I put democratic in quotes here, preventing candidates of substance from reaching office. I think we need to figure out what we're going to do about it. There's a lot of charged feelings in the Yang Gang about how the debate went, a lot of people freaking out, saying Yang wasn't aggressive enough and it's all over and so on. It's worth mentioning that this happens literally every debate, and it always turns out that he did better than people thought. William Lex Ham proved this again, tweeting that his friends thought Yang did the best, saying the least but making every word count. Let's take a look at some other responses. Idaho Democrats on Twitter posted a straw poll of who won the debate, and Yang was tied with Pete for first, with a pretty substantial lead on everyone else. I also saw others ranking Yang in first or second place. Media organizations reported a great deal of various clips and quotes from Yang. Yang was prominent in results for #DimDebate on Twitter, including the following. Cigar Injetti of The Hill tweeted, "Andrew Yang lobbing truth grenades on Pete's focus group answers." Crystal of The Hill says, "This is a great answer from Andrew Yang about Trump as symptom and not cause. Andrew is very strong tonight." Brennan Brown says, "The only man to bring up the death of small news journalists. He's the only man who understands the average American. Preach, Andrew Yang." Ariana Huffington says, "We're not used to hearing about mental health and stress in presidential debates. Andrew Yang is changing that." Coalition to Stop Gun Violence says, "Thank you, Andrew Yang, for talking about suicide. In 2018, there were over 24,000 firearm suicides, the highest number in history." Alex Molina says, "Andrew Yang should be trending high right now. I should have been aware of his campaign much sooner. The only candidate who focused on the actual issues and not just pointing fingers." Amisha Cross quotes Yang saying, "You can't regulate away racism with laws. You have to reshape our economy in communities of color. You can't regulate that away by any other means than putting money in the hands of Black and Latino communities." End quote. Francesca says, "Andrew Yang shouting out the value of starving artists and journalists is making us feel seen harder than we've ever been seen." Niksha Davis says Andrew Yang was the only candidate who gave an answer to what will solve child poverty. The answer, money. And Trump himself quoted Yang's line about shooting ourselves in the foot by pretending Trump is the cause of all our problems and followed it with, "Sorry, Andrew, they aren't listening." This was, in my opinion, easily Yang's best answer of the night. He told Pete and basically all the Democrats that they are missing the lesson of Trump's victory, that it isn't about Trump. He's a warning sign to Democrats that they have lost the people. He said that the parties are playing a game of you lose, I lose nonstop, and the ones really losing have been the American people. He pointed out swing states turning red and the party giving up on them. He basically told Democrats to get their heads out of their butts, stop blaming Trump for their own inadequacies, wake up to why they're losing, and do something to get those voters back. Had he thrown in an explanation of electability with it and told people to vote for the guy who's winning those lost voters back to the party, it would have been the perfect wake-up call speech. But it was pretty darn good regardless. It was also reported on by a ton of media. Nobody asked, but I'll give my thoughts on how it went anyway. I think he did recently well, but at this point we need to recognize that we need more than decent. We need a breakout moment to get everyone looking at Yang with renewed interest, or this campaign will likely peter out. People need to be shocked into taking him seriously. We were hoping that Iowa would do that, but that didn't work out, whether due to our own failings or the DNC's corruption or incompetence. I doubt any of the early states are going to deliver it to us either without a catalyst. We need to make something happen, and I think there were multiple missed opportunities at the debate to make that happen. For instance, the poverty prompt. This was the perfect chance for Yang to be bold and issue a challenge. Imagine him saying this: "We are the richest country in the world. We have the means to easily eliminate poverty directly and immediately. And no, welfare, education, and child care programs will not do it. Martin Luther King Jr. himself said that indirect programs will never solve poverty or inequality. Only a guaranteed income will do that." Does everyone think they know this issue better than Dr. King? Or does poverty just not deserve our attention? My question to everyone on this stage and everyone listening is this: why is there only one candidate on this Democratic stage proposing to abolish poverty? Just imagine the press firestorm that speech would start and how it would get people to think about what they're really voting for. I would really love to get this suggestion to the campaign, and if any of you agree, then please join me in emailing that suggestion to them. Then there was the electability prompt. On this one, I think Yang completely missed the ball. This is the most important issue to voters. Yang is by the numbers the most electable. All the proof backs him up. Tell people that, Yang. He needs to lay it out. You want to win a general election? It's decided by swing voters. That's converting Republicans and independents and inspiring non-voters. Who is the most effective at that by the numbers? In all three categories combined, I am leading, with 30% compared to the next closest candidate at just 20%. Look at who appeals most to Republicans, to independents, and to previous non-voters. Every piece of data collected on electability points to a single candidate, and that is Andrew Yang. Never in history has it been more clear. If you want to beat Trump, I am the one to do it, and it's because I'm running to lead the country, not just the Democratic Party. That is how direct Yang needs to be on this, because most people not only aren't familiar with the data, they don't even know what swings an election. He needs to lay it all out for them. Finally, there was a lot of consternation among the Yang Gang over Pete stealing many of Yang's talking points in the debate, such that people started trending the hashtag Pete copies Yang. I have to say that I don't see any upside to this trend. It makes us feel better, but it will just piss off Pete supporters, making them less likely to switch to Yang. I don't see how it does anything good at all for the campaign. My girlfriend, however, had a fantastic idea of how to deal with Pete. She said that following Pete stealing one of Yang's talking points, he should have gone over and stood at Pete's podium, and when asked what he was doing, say that he just assumed they were on a team now, since Pete was promoting all of Yang's policies. Clearly, he must want to be Yang's VP. That absolutely cracked me up, but you know what? I think it would legitimately be a great response. It would be funny enough that people wouldn't characterize it as petty, and it would be the only thing talked about at the debate, gaining Yang all the press coverage he needs. Those are the kind of bold moves that he needs to be making, and I think he should try it at the next debate if given the chance. One more thing I have to mention. Amy Klobuchar had a bunch of people praising her for her closing speech, and I cannot let this go. Amy promised to eliminate poverty for just children in a generation. Yang is promising to eliminate all poverty immediately. Amy said that we need to unite America. Yang is the one polling the most support from Republicans, independents, and non-voters, and Amy is polling literally 0% of those people in polls. People praising her for that speech is a perfect example of what's wrong with our democracy. Either they don't know that Yang is far exceeding Amy in everything she's proposing, or they only care about the words and not the deeds. Either way, it's something that needs to change if we ever expect to elect good people and make any progress. In other news, the National Review produced a very brief article on John McCormack in Manchester tipping $1,000 to a pregnant server with the note, "Imagine this every month." NPR reported the number of events each candidate has done in New Hampshire, and as in Iowa, Yang came out on top. He's done 97 events, with the next closest at just 69. Yeah, go ahead and giggle. I really feel for Yang, working harder than anyone else, sleeping less than 6 hours a day, and sick, having to fight just to get a tiny fraction of the media time as any other candidate. It's incredible that he can go through all that and still deliver performances like the CNN town hall, which was the single most impressive thing I've seen from a politician. And we'll leave off with this. Recent polls have had Pete shoot up from 11% to 25% in New Hampshire just since Iowa. And UNH pollster Andrew Smith says, quote, "We're asking people who they're going to vote for when half of them don't know who they're going to vote for yet. It's kind of a crapshoot, to tell you the truth." What does this mean? It means that the race is far from decided. It's wide open chaos, in fact. And huge swings are clearly possible with the right catalyst. Chris Cuomo even backed us up on a televised panel when someone suggested that all but the top three should drop out. Chris asked why Yang should consider dropping out when there's no clear frontrunner and no candidate better than him. Is there even a top three, really? If Pete, who was lower than Yang in national polling, can suddenly jump from 5th to 1st, others can do it as well. All we need is that catalyst, Yang Gang, and this contested race could break in our favor. Today's Yang Daily Tin Task isn't out yet, so I'm going to repeat Liberty Smurf, who pointed out that none of his undecided friends were at all interested in the debate, and that the debates barely move the needle. You know what does move the needle, though? Talking to people on the phone and in person, informing them that there's a clear best choice, both to win the election and to actually improve their lives in office. You know what to do, Yang Gang. Let's keep calling, let's keep knocking, and let's turn this chaos into the biggest upset the world has ever seen. And that's our Yang News for today. Donate to help us reach our goal, check your local events, keep sharing the CNN Town Hall, message the campaign with your suggestions for how we can create a breakout moment, help us make the final push for New Hampshire, and get on those volunteer leaderboards. As always, please share this podcast so we can save people as much time as possible for volunteering. Spend some of your own saved time on volunteering, and don't forget to Yang Daily.